whenever I was not able to follow up with the routine I have made for myself, or if sometimes I used to miss that usual practice. All right. So, in the cycle of routine maintenance which we have allocated to ourselves in order to achieve the higher purpose we have given to ourselves, we forget sometimes, or just don't forget that experiencing life is the part of that routine management. It is actually very important part. And with experiences, I mean the action items we have been holding on to for so long. The action items, for example, that skill we want to pursue to get a promotion ahead in our career, or to an entrepreneurship perspective, that work which we are interested for so long, which we have been researching for so long, but never have taken the step to move further onto that. We have the vendors contact, the suppliers list and everything. Still we are holding ourselves कि थोड़ा सा और सोच लेते हैं, थोड़ा सा और पता चल जाए, उसके बाद we'll get comfortable. Or in other context, if we will talk about that dinner, that long pending dinner with that pretty girl or with that pretty boy, or as simple as a spa day you wanted to have, or that run you wanted to go for so long, but very scared if you will be able to run for that long, or for any or whatever, for how, doesn't matter how many kilometers or miles. So yeah, with the experiences, I mean those action items which we have been holding on to for so long but not taking any action onto these. So don't you think that these are the very important part of the routine management? And why am I saying that? Because all the hardships we humans are doing in our life is to make our life either pleasant, fruitful, or we say meaningful. Yes. खाली कमरे में बैठकर किताबें ख़त्म करने से और that video podcast series ख़त्म करने से, that intellectual series, that educational series को ख़त्म कर देना, or in other context, if you will binge watch that entire fashion blog series or those sexy rom-coms or so fantasizing rom-coms, that is not how we are going to find meaning and how we are going to find the fulfillment. So great thinkers, educators or philosophers from the ancient times to the modern times have been talking about these things for so long. For instance, if we quote Aristotle in his writings, he has mentioned about this very clearly, where he says, he actually argues about that only contemplating the abstract ideas without actually actioning them or applying those ideas into our day-to-day life, into our day-to-day scenarios, is not going to get you anywhere. It's not going to help you anywhere. Moving ahead, we have aspirations to go above and beyond. But what we are doing for that aspirations? We are sitting in a room, we are sitting in the comfort zone, we are sitting with the people, we are spending the time daily on that comfort zone, that friend circle. We do not, that friend circle, we do not want to go out of our comfort zone, of that comforting arena, and then we aspire to go over and beyond. Let me tell you that you are not doing any help to yourself over there. All you are doing is that you are overstimulating your neurons with that. Nothing much, nothing less. Just overstimulating your neurons. And that's not a good thing, by the way. It's just a fake sense of satisfaction we are getting from that. Nothing else. The thing it is doing is only, like I said, overstimulating our neurons, and that's it. So this body needs to move. This physical body needs to move. We need to take actions to work. Then only we will be able to retain the information. Because until unless we take action, we execute the action, whether it is something we are liking about other than our routine cycle, or whether it is about something we are learning and we are taking action onto that concepts and applying them. If we are not doing that, then let me tell you, the knowledge retention, the information retention of that knowledge which we are accumulating in ourself is not going to impress you. Why so? Because for knowledge retention, it is very important to have a good memory palace. If you know what I am saying, a memory palace is a framework which helps us to retain information, which helps us in memorizing the informations. Wherein in this framework, what we do, we relate the real life experiences with the ideas, informations we are taking in, and then we connect the dots into those real life experiences, into those places. If you are not going out, if you are not taking actions, if you are not making real life experiences, that we do not have those palaces where we can allocate those information, that knowledge. And it circle backs to what where. So we keep on going into that loop. We are reading, then we are forgetting, then we are again revising, and for sometimes we have the memory of that knowledge, and after sometimes again it is gone. And then we keep patronizing ourselves over that. But the reality is that's not even how it works. ऐसे तो ये काम करता भी नहीं है. Number second thing, why this fake sense of doing something is not going to help you is because number one, we have talked about the memory retention. If we do not have a good memory palace, we're not going to retain a lot of information. The second thing is that our brain, that brain of ours, needs evidences, the proof of works, the proof of actions which we have taken, so that the brain can put its belief into ourselves. That is how we trust ourselves. That is how the process goes on. If we have worked on something, if we have read something, accumulated a knowledge about a concept, about a theory, or about the world, or philosophy, or way of life, or anything, and if we are not going to apply that, and if we will apply that, and then we have the memory of that, we have the memory of executing that action, that gives the evidence, that gives the proof to our brain that how it is actually working. And scientifically speaking, it gives you a boost of a dopamine. And when you get, believe me, when we get the dopamine, naturally, when we get dopamine naturally, it really boosts up the reward system into ourselves. Nietzsche, and he quoted that he who cannot command himself must obey, and there are many who cannot command, where he specifically means that those who consumes the information without applying them into the real world scenarios are actually in no control of themselves, and hence their reaction, they always have a passive reaction to the informations they are getting themselves to feel. So in a nutshell, people, what character would you like your mind to have to drive your day-to-day routine or your future aspiration? Now it depends on you. So isn't it much better to drive yourself with discipline rather than dopamine? How about if I say that there is this synergistic relationship between dopamine and discipline? Wherever in one of the most influential studies of a world-renowned German scientist named Schultz, where he has given the reward system of brain, he has worked on that. It's a very famous and influential work he has done, where he talks about how our brains, every time we achieve something, we do the action, we complete a task, how naturally our brain gives the dopamine, gives the reward, which enhances the feedback loop in our body and thus helps in long-term accumulation of this memory restoration. And that is actually has the synergistic relationship with the discipline, where discipline is important or is a framework which is given for a long time or tasks to complete. It gives a path, it ways. But the dopamine is actually the reward system, and eventually that discipline leads to or somehow chasing to. So without having that sensation of that dopamine, the end result wouldn't be so fruitful for the person chasing that discipline for a certain goal. So in somehow it is again coming back to the same loop where we're talking about the maintaining routine, but also how important it is to take actions. Thinkers and educators all around the world, even from different eras, have been talking about this for so long. As we are not the new people here, I am not the only one who's talking about it, but at least if it will make sense to you that how important it is for us to understand that is how only the discipline, only the routine, only a monotonous activity is not always helps us. How important it is to have the synergistic relationship with a routine statement, with our disciplined lifestyle, along with the task, with the action items we need to do, those action we need to fulfill. Those internal wishes, that ice cream, that dinner date, that spa day and everything, how important it is. Because these disciplined life is not going to help unless we have these actions taken care of. If we won't be having these experiences, these mind palace where we are going to put these information, much information, this much knowledge, how are we going to retain that? So the thing is that ignorance is not a bliss. It is our ignorance which brings us over here whenever we are stuck. So we people, we humans, love to ignore this a lot, even if we know that, if we have heard it so many times, either in reels or in some videos, or with any teacher or anyone, from any teacher or anyone, still we ignore that. But that is there. So the respect we need to chase is the respect of ourselves. And honestly speaking, the respect is actually nothing, it's just all facade, is actually that evidences, that proofs we give to ourselves. Yeah. So let me give you a challenge to you. Let me give you a challenge, everyone. Try enhancing that character you would like to have and see if it helps. Alright, bye. Thank you so much for listening.